Hi, my name is Jericho. I am a Corrin player from Louisiana. I thoroughly labbed this character and post a lot of the character regarding tech skill, matchup specific stuff, and how to play them. In this video, I will go into a thorough explanation on how to use Dragon Lunge, or more commonly known as Pin, Corrin's side special. I have seen several people kind of stumped about how to use this move properly, as it's rather unique, so I decided to make a video. I recommend watching even if you aren't confused on Pin's uses, as I've labbed this character a ton, so I have a lot of info and tech maybe some don't know.
Are you ready?
We're going to start with the basics of the move on how to input it. There are a few ways to input Pin, some ways do the same thing, others have different results. The most common way to do it is insta-pin, as this. This is the tech name short for instant pin, making the move come out as fast as possible. This is the fastest done at frame 8. There's 4 frames of the pin hop, and then the second input comes out at earliest frame 8. There are multiple portions of pin I will go over after this, so the most common input method for instant pin is pressing B as you do your side special input and then sliding your thumb to A. I'll make it come out as fast as possible. This makes pin come out at the fastest potential frame on the ground. Some people double tap B, which that's fine. It's just personally for me it feels like it's a little slower. So move breakdown. Pin is Corrin's centralizing tool and what makes Corrin unique. This move has multiple uses and actually multiple different versions of the move as it does many things. So the first thing we're going to do is pin hop. This is pin hop. This is what happens when you input side B on the ground without the second input. This starts at frame 4. It goes not too far off the ground, but enough to potentially hop over some low projectiles. For example, being able to hop over Rob Gyro. The move itself is kind of laggy, as you can see, even with like a shortened distance. Because it is a 45 total frame move while doing only the hop itself. You can act out, however, soon or later after the hop, so you can do things. It also has decent movement control, as you can make it go shorter or farther back, and you can even make it go backwards like this. It can also ledge cancel, as you saw on the platform earlier. It can be kind of hard because it does go... It's not like the most generous ledge canceling thing, but I find that it does it the easiest when you're going backwards like this. It's kind of difficult to do all the time, but if you get the spacing down, it can be a decent mix-up move. And if you're fairly on certain stages, there's like kind of a visual for where you'd want to be to do pin hop and be able to ledge cancel it. Overall, the only use pin hop will have by itself will be going over a hitbox on the ground, like a mini jump, or being out of a dash for extra range. So like this, or like that. And now we'll go over grounded pin. This is the most common form of pin. This is how Corrin ends up after doing the second input of pin after the hop. As you can see right here. This has Corrin slightly suspended in the air while pinned into the ground. This can allow you to high profile some moves, but it's kind of generous to say that. It also gives you the option to do 4 things once he is stuck into the ground. I'll go over these after this. Other things to mention about grounded pin is there is a 13 frame waiting period after when you pin the ground where you can't act, because I'm pressing A to input a kick as fast as possible, and as you can see there is a slight delay even on the other options. This can be used against you if you're too close to someone. For example, pinning into the ground through someone's shield. If they have a fast enough out of shield option, they will just like punish you out of shield. And that's before I can act. Another thing is that this does cause Corrin's hurt box to be somewhat extended because of Corrin's arm. So it can get you hit in situations that may seem a little wonky. Be aware that this can make you easier to hit like a lot if you're stuck in this animation. Considering you are stuck in lag for 13 frames suspended off the ground and your hurt box is larger than normal. Be aware that pin does not ground people who are in shield unless it shield pokes them. So let's get rid of that. Oops. It can be hard to shield poke people with pin. Like that. But it won't, it essentially loses the shield. So you're not going to be able to pin someone in shield unless you shield poke them. If someone is pinned, they can mash out of it, but normally not too many people delay the kick for long enough that they can mash out, and most people don't even know they can mash out to begin with. For example, let's show, this is high. This is normal mashing at 0. And then show high mashing at 0. But a CPU is also going to mash out incredibly fast in comparison to, like, you know, at a higher percent. Obviously within, you know, reason of higher percent. So now we'll go over the kick options you can do after pinning into the ground. We have pin kick forward. This is the most common kick when it comes to killing with pin. Pin kick forward does the most damage and the most percent. It is frame 10 after the 13 frame waiting period, meaning the kick on someone who is pinned comes out on frame 23. This doesn't matter much against someone who is stuck in pin, but it does matter when you try to kick at someone who, like, you haven't pinned into the ground, as the kick itself has lag plus the waiting period, and then there's travel time. This combined with pin kick being decently laggy and very unsafe on shield, it's neg 35, so a lot of characters can drop shield smash attack this. Rarely does it cross up either. When it does, you have to be really close to them anyway. Kick does have less lag, however, if you are in the air, as you can see here, as opposed to this. While you're in the air, you can use this as like a movement option, assuming you do it correctly. Like this. One of the most common things you'll see from this is people doing this right here. It's no Fox side B, but it is still pretty good. Usually, like, using this to, like, get away to disengage is, like, the best way to use it. At least for, like, when it comes to movement. One issue with the move, however, is that it can tend to whiff on characters that have a, like, that you, like, pin, like, too close, for instance. Like there. That's not even me. That's not even me waiting for him to mash out. That's just, I did it too close to him, and the forward kick whiffs, but thankfully back kick covers that. Overall, the kicks are safest used when hitting a pinned target and not just, like, you know, thrown about in neutral. Because they're just, like, they're not that safe, and they do have travel time, and there is risk reward to it. They can't be thrown around freely with the skewed risk reward and no thought involved. Pin kick back is overall weaker than pin kick forward. It's not going to kill as soon, but it is faster than pin kick forward at frame 6 and more consistent at hitting targets that, like, pin kick forward will whiff on, as you can see here. Sometimes it can whiff as well, but at the very least you're, like, getting away from them when you do it. But usually, as you get more experience with the move, you can tell when someone's gonna fall out of it, like when you're just, like, too close to them like that. Overall, it's just intended to be safer and more consistent option and for kicking to catch people trying to move behind you, but it's still not recommended to use it without having already pinned someone. Some characters, however, can struggle to punish kick away because it goes far enough that even though it's unsafe on shield, they won't be able to drop shield, dash, and punish it in time before Corrin can react. They would have to parry the kick to be able to get to you fast enough. Now we have pin jump. This option is very useful as it can be hard for some characters to punish you doing it if they lack a good vertical option to punish it. As you do go decently high, and you're able to act out of it somewhat fast, like faster than all your other options. And if you have a platform like this, it's just a complete disengage. But some characters can really struggle to like try and actually punish it. Like if they don't have the ability to chase you vertically well, one character that can't chase this very well is Jigglypuff, because she is not very good at handling people being directly above her. And she's not going to be able to get to this height fast enough unless she's like literally already there. But it's mostly used to disengage from a missed pin or to recover if pinning a wall, which obviously this is going to be the most prevalent on stages like Kalos that have a wall, but not everywhere has Kalos legal. So it has its uses, but nothing particularly crazy. Like I said, it's mostly used to disengage. And then we have the last thing, which is pin cancel, at least for the grounded version of pin. This is by far the most useful part of pin because canceling allows you to just like not have to either disengage or kick away or pick a risky option. Obviously, as you can see, it does have some lag, so if you do it in someone's face and they're aware, they will hit you for it. This also allows for like tech chases, which this CPU is mashing and tech rolls and immediately teching as fast as possible, which most people aren't going to be even aware that you can even be put in a tech situation by this move, or won't be ready to tech it anyway. It has the lowest lag. It's 19 frames of landing lag, and having a reduced lag if you happen to cancel above a certain height. As you can see right here, that's a little bit laggier, but if I'm in the air, almost instantly after canceling it, I'm actionable. People can still punish this if you're close enough, so be aware of if you're pinning their shield, don't do it directly in their face. But obviously, most people don't really know too much about it, and it's relatively subtle, and it happens pretty fast, so like, they can just like let you get away with it, but I wouldn't recommend just abusing that. And then we have air version of pin. This is what happens when you side B in the air. There is no hop, just the attack. This is, however, 2 frames slower than the grounded version of pin, as it is frame 10. Its power is no different than the tipper on the ground. Obviously, the CPU is crouch canceling it. You see here. But it is overall safer because if you do it above a certain height, it can have less lag, but it is only active for 1 frame. But if you do it in a certain height, it can essentially be lagless, like that. It is an incredibly strong kill move and just as versatile in the air as it can slow your momentum. It can turn you around and help you recover by pinning into a wall, assuming that there is one. So like this. A lot of the time, if I'm off stage and I got hit into the blast zone, I'll use pin to like reposition, to like put myself in a spot where I can back air safely so I can face the stage. It could also help you pin into the wall, assuming there is one. Alright, so we're going to go into application. Pin is a Swiss Army knife. It is a central part of Corrin's moveset and can be used essentially anywhere. It can be used as a 2-framing tool, like an aerial, recovery tool, burst option, punish tool, out of shield option, movement option, etc. It's got a lot of uses, so it can be hard to figure out when to use it besides its most common uses, which would be 2-framing and using it as a punish tool and neutral like this. So we're going to go over 2-framing pin first, since this is the most common This is the most common pin usage if you're not using it in neutral. Um, it actually has two different variants, as least as far as I'm aware. The first variant being grounded pin to two frame like this. So, as you can see, it goes through the stage with the red circle at the bottom being the farthest hitbox, or I think it's actually the gold one. That's where the tipper is. But the issue with this, however, is that pin can lose to certain uppies if that uppie has a hitbox because the priority is pretty bad. So timing it can be a little awkward as you have to time it later to hit their actual two frame and not them recovering, depending on their character. However, since you are pinning through the stage, this can hit a lot lower. It's more likely to hit characters coming from deep or happen to have portions of their body poking out with their recovery. And if they happen to hug the wall, it's particularly good at catching that kind of recovery. Another issue with pin, however, is that because you ground yourself with the pin, you still have to go through the 13 frame waiting period. So if they do a ledge option while you're in pin, like you go to two frame them, and they grab ledge before you're ready, or before you're able to cancel, they'll be able to act before you can. So if the pin whiffs and they're fast enough, a lot of the characters can swing off ledge at you. You can kick away to avoid this, but obviously by doing that, you lose all opportunities to ledge trap. And then we have a different variant, which there's no name for it. I just call it slip-off pin, but this is what it is. It's just having pin go off the ledge where it doesn't actually ground into the stage, but it's still two frames, and it hits pretty low. And the thing about this is it's much less committal. It causes the lance arm to slightly go off the ledge. It keeps you from grounding and being in lag. The pin is harder since it requires you to actually two frame, as with this version of pin. Sometimes you just hit them while they're recovering and not actually two framing them. Depending on character, this is potentially the most effective way to two frame them, as it can space to hit them and not the hitboxes on the recovery. The big strength with this pin out, although you have to be more precise, is that it is way less committal. You're in less lag if you miss the pin. You still have the opportunity to ledge trap and are actionable before they can jump off the ledge and swing at you. So you can bait them to like try and swing at you off ledge for doing it. But the biggest thing about this is just not sacrificing your ability to ledge trap while still being able to two frame. I'm going to do pin as a whiff punish tool. This is the most common use of pin in neutral. This can also have a variant, but I will talk about that after this. Obviously, with standard insta-pin is a normal way to do it. You pin them, after they whiff a move, you kick them, etc. It is very simple. Although, because it is a committal option, you need to be a bit more nuanced with it, and not so hasty to throw it out. Because if you try to punish a move that's safe on whiff, or just like you can't get to on time, then you're put on the spot in front of them for pinning their shield. But this makes Corrin's burst range like actually kind of massive, which like Corrin's not the fastest character in the game, but this move is very big. Its downside is that if you don't hit them and ground them, you are in a decent bit of lag and you're stuck in front of them. And kick can be punished by most characters, and with parry even more so. Speaking of parry, because pin is frame 8, it is an incredibly fast, strong parry option. There is risk reward to play when it comes to using pin, so be aware when you should and shouldn't. When you should and should not try to use it. Now this is delayed pin. This is similar to insta-pin in its use and intention. However, you trade a little bit of speed for a more potent killing option. Like this. As you can see, it's not as fast as insta-pin, but it tippers. So you could potentially just like kill someone for them trying to dash away, or them trying to get away from you, or just like in the same use cases that you would do grounded pin. Also, if it hits their shield, it is more safe, as there's this extra chunk of shield lag if you tipper it like that, and it pushes them away. So it makes it a lot safer, and a lot of characters that would try to out of shield you with, like, say, an up smash out of shield or something out of shield would completely whiff. So yeah, by delaying the pin, you get the exact same uses, but the tipper is active, so it's a lot more threatening. This can shield poke as well if their shield is low and the bottom is vulnerable. But how this works is that the pin comes out while you're slightly off the ground with a pin hop, making it not go as deep into the floor as you see with that yellow part, as that's the actual, that's the tipper. But as you can see with normal pin, it's in the floor. There's no way to hit that. But with delayed pin, it's above the ground now. Holy shit, if I could hit Byleth. As you can see there, it's above the ground now. So now it can actually hit grounded targets, as opposed to being, like, stuck in the floor so it doesn't do anything. Pin as an out of shield option. This has two ways to do it as well. The move's a lot more nuanced than people realize. You have insta pin out of shield. It is a frame 19 option, so obviously this is not fast. You're stuck in your 11 frames of shield drop like normal. Then assuming you do insta pin correctly, it's frame 19. Which, this can be kind of hard to do fast. It's a lot easier when it comes to shield stun. But it is a good move against laggier moves on shield that you can, like, hard punish. So say someone does an up smash on your shield, as long as it's not like a really safe move, then you can pin it out of shield. It does require a little bit of frame data knowledge because you have to make sure that that move is unsafe enough to be able to pin out of shield. But like I said earlier, out of parry, it is a very strong option. And then we have air pin out of shield. This one is faster at frame 13. Well, technically frame 16. There is a special mechanic in the game called special lockout for Corrin, where Corrin has to jump for the normal 3 frames of what's it called, jump squat, but there's an extra 3 if you're trying to do a special out of shield, which is to make sure that Corrin can't jump out of shield and do pin without pinning the ground. So this right here is a frame 16 out of shield option instead of frame 13. However, it is kind of harder to do. It requires a specific spacing and can be hard to do well because the input can be a little awkward. It also can vary in how fast it comes out. You can do it as early as possible, or you can drift or jump a little higher to do it. Or jump, like, forward, try and catch something from farther away. So obviously it's going to be delayed by a little bit. You can also just, you know, use this to disengage by, like, pinning to a platform. This can be, like, good against moves that are safe on shield, not in numbers, but because of their range. But like insta pin out of shield, there is a little bit of frame data knowledge to be known. This is a lot more unused and undiscovered, personally, because I don't see too many people use it, and it is very good. One thing as well is that if you do it correctly, you'll be high enough off the ground that you'll be actionable before you hit the ground. So, it's not like you're going to be in lag. So, like, you can do this out of shield and still, even if it hits their shield and you're late, you can still get away. Or you can still disengage or continue your pressure. Then we have pin as a movement option. Pin kick is usually laggy, but when kicking off platforms or off stage, the kick has reduced lag. And the back kick is more generous when it comes to the lag. Allowing you to act out of them sooner, so this can be used as an option off ledge or to disengage off ledge like this. So you can be on ledge, jump, and pin to disengage, or pin to go to center. This is obviously more prevalent on stages with more platforms and more so if they're higher off the ground. There's a minimum amount of travel time you have to spend in the air before being actionable. As you can see here, I think it has something to do with body blocking me, but I'm not actionable before I hit the ground, so I do land in kick lag, but if I delay the pin a little bit, I'm not. So just be aware of that. But not a lot of characters. Some characters will have to like position to cover this preemptively, or to have to stand farther back to make sure that you can't just kick the center because they're too slow to cover it. But it is very good against those slow characters because if they aren't covering jump from ledge and they're not ready to cover this, then you're just like, you can get the center for almost for free. But yeah, like in the situations where you would land and you're actionable, you do have to press a button. Because otherwise, as I was actionable there because I'm high enough, I didn't press a button, but I landed in kick lag. But if I do press a button, as you can see there, I can A-land. You can also air dodge. Oh, whoops. That one's not high enough. You can air dodge. You can directional air dodge. You can jump. You can swing. But yeah, you're gonna have to press a button a lot of those times to make sure that you don't land on that lag. PS2 Battlefield and Small Battlefield are good for this, as you can jump from ledge, pin kick off a plat, and then immediately go to center without lag if you do it correctly. Obviously, this isn't a super fast thing, but you can get away with this decently often if they're way too close to the corner and don't catch you immediately jumping the pin. Being on the plat itself like this is a mix-up because, for one, they have to cover you going to center. So they have to either cover right here, or they have to just like be under the platform. But you still have the ability to cancel and then stay in the corner without having to like do a committal kick to the center, or you can jump to disengage. So general note, it'll always be easier to cancel kick lag with back kick as opposed to, so as you can see here, I land in lag, but if I do back kick here, I am not in lag. If I do normal kick, I am in lag. Back kick is generally going to be the most generous when it comes to that. So now pin is a ledge option. Pin can be used as a ledge option as well, like I mentioned before, with the platforms near ledges. It can either be doing a ledge jump pin onto a platform, or a drop-off rising pin like this into the stage wall, or into the stage like this. But be aware that if you do it into the wall like this, it is risky because you are burning your jump to do it. And drop-off ledge pin like this is kind of not generous depending on what stage you're on, and the kick doesn't put you below the platform. A lot of the time, the kick will not go above the ledge, so you aren't going anywhere with it. And it is kind of hard timing to get that, but obviously on a stage like Kalos, it's going to be very generous. A more patient player will simply wait you out or stuff you for doing this. It does give you a high-low mix-up if you have it like this, or whether or not you're going to, like this, if you're going to either kick, cancel to re-grab, or go high and then go to a platform. So it has mixed potential. Be aware that by doing drop-off jump pin, you do use your jump. So if you're hit off stage, you are in a really bad spot, as you no longer have your jump. Like I said earlier, the ledge drop pin is pretty frame tight. It is kind of hard to do, and depending on stage, it can be more or less generous. I think on Town and Smashville, it's like literally frame perfect. It's very hard. But another thing too is that by doing this, by re-grabbing with your cancel, your get-ups do have significantly less iframes. As you can see, after I've done it twice, my roll has like basically no get-up iframes. But now we're going to do pin as a recovery option. So pin can be used as a less laggy option to turn you around in the air as opposed to Dragon Fang shot, which you can use, but it is laggier and more likely to get you hit. And it also only stalls you once off stage, as you'll start falling fast if you use it twice. But it's best to save Dragon Fang shot off stage for times when you truly need to recover, because you can stall for a decent bit with both a fully charged Dragon Fang shot and the chomp. So that's like a lot of time to be able to stall. Pin, however, is less valuable. So you can use it to get in a, say like you got hit off stage and your back is facing the stage. You can use pin to turn yourself around and then back air to stage. But yeah, pin is less valuable here than Dragon Fang shot is. So I recommend hanging on to Dragon Fang shot to stall if you need to. In the situation that there's a wall, obviously, say you're on Kalos or you're on Yoshi's, pin is very, very valuable, as you can go as low as you really want to, as long as you're like not too close to the blast zone. If you can make it to the wall, you can survive. But make sure not to go too close to the blast zone, because sometimes if you're too close, it'll cancel immediately and then instantly kill you. So like, you have to be careful with that. But as long as you're not too low, you're fine. But now we have pin as a punish option, as it has many uses as far as punish go. I mentioned out of shield, out of parry. Commonly in neutral, it should be used as a whiff punish tool. Its massive range and speed allows Corrin to have a rather large punish range, as you can delay it to get more range, or you can do it really fast. And you also have like the lethality of delayed pin. You can do the insta pin to ground and kick, or the delayed kick for a stronger potential punish. You can use this to whiff punish some moves and cover ground, like landing options, like say they're air dodging and you want to cover a large bit of ground with just pin. Or to simply range check someone, because if they're like doing something like at this range or just too close to you, you can just like kill them for it. So we have air pin as a punish. Obviously, if you're just like doing things and they whiff something from like this range, you're probably not going to be able to get over to them and pin them in time to kill them or whiff punish them. But air pin is very fast, and if you can get close enough, you can kill them from like pretty decently far away. But it is overall stronger than grounded pin, as like the kick is not going to be as strong as, you know, this. You do have to be rather precise with it, and if you do it a certain way, it can be lagless. You have to do it at a certain height. I'll go over that later. Air pin would likely be used to punish someone running at you, whiffing near you, or to punish an air dodge. Say if they're falling from a platform, like you've comboed them onto the platform and they air dodge, and then you pin their air dodge. And then we have pin as an edgeguarding tool, and can be used to edgeguard in a lot of ways. So like some recoveries of vulnerabilities or dead zones where there is no hitbox, say a Mega Man up B. You can go off and use it to edgeguard, but you do run the risk of losing to a move if they do have a hitbox on their up B, or missing, as it can be difficult to space. So if, say a Fox or a Falco has the side B from very far out and doesn't have a jump to go straight to ledge, you can run off and pin the lag on their move. If the character has a bad enough recovery option, even an unspaced pin can like gimp some characters, especially if you like use it to steal a recovery move or use it to steal their jump. One other use of this is kicking into recoveries. So you could go crazy and, you know, kick back into their recovery like that, but the best way to do it is to kick into their up B. If they go, most people will try to go low and they'll hug the wall, and pin kick will destroy that. It's very good against recoveries with like no hitboxes, or no hitboxes particularly above them. So like it can untechable fairly early depending on their weight, but it's not that good if it doesn't untechable. It's still good, but if it doesn't kill them, then there's no really point in doing it when you can do something else. So now we have pin and ledge trapping. One thing Corrin can do when it comes to ledge trapping is that you can avoid all the get up attacks in the game with a delayed pin. Like this. As you can see, Byleth's sword went under the pin her box. And this will even work on like Bowser. But you can bait them to do a get-up attack to try and hit you for doing that. And if they don't, you can kick on reaction to any of their get-ups. Pin kick can also hit ledge hangs. So that's like a little bit more niche and very, very nuanced. It is hard to like consistently get. But as you can see there, it is very hard to consistently get, as it's like a very weird spacing. I don't know why it's better at hitting when I'm from up close as compared to farther out, but okay. Pin kick forward sometimes can hit them as well, but obviously it's not doing it against Byleth. But like I said, it's more nuanced. That's a whole other thing I'd have to test and do a video on, so I'm not going to bother with that too much. Personally, I feel like this is like a bit fake, but on platforms it is very relevant. Canceling the pin actually puts them in this tech situation, which, if they aren't ready, most people are not gonna, most people don't even know that this will put in a tech situation, so they're either gonna no tech, or even if they do tech, they're gonna tech in place. Or they're gonna no tech and then either tech away or do something delayed. So most people, it's a knowledge check is essentially the best way to put it. But if there is a delay between them hitting the ground after being pinned, like say they're higher up in the air, they can mash a button before they hit the ground. So like say it's a special, they'll mash up B out of shield, or like, say it's Cloud, he can mash up B out of this get up or this option. As you can see, Byleth did the air version of it, and not the grounded version. But if they do have a fast enough button, they can swing at you. So do be aware that sometimes it can mess up just simply by accident. But like I said, it is a knowledge check. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce this tag. Alyu has a good video on this that I recommend watching. I will put that in the video description. Okay, so like, as you can see, I'm having him intentionally miss a tech because otherwise, like, if they don't miss the tech initially, you are, like, not getting anything. You will get, like, something off of tech, like, roll through you. Like, the only way you get something off them, like, teching immediately is if they tech roll into you and you can, like, immediately F-tilt them or something. That's, like, the only situation where you'll be able to hit them. Because they do neutral tech, they're, like, in plus frames in front of you while you're in lag, and if they tech roll away, they're, like, out of there. But on miss tech, the most common option people cover is, like, roll in, because a lot of the time people will just, like, roll in. Especially I see this interaction happen a lot in the corner, where nobody's gonna want to obviously, like, roll into the corner. Obviously, you have to also potentially worry about get of attack. In a situation like this, if you don't believe they're going to roll in, you can just, like, you know, charge S smash like that or something. But you do still have to worry about neutral get up attack, tech roll in. Tech roll in will be, like, obviously, as it's
in most situations it might get them to the corner or get them out of the corner, so it'd probably be the most valuable one. But and it's like the best one to like actually punish because you're like the most plus in the situation that they tech roll into you. But yeah, the other options can be obviously punished, but tech roll in or yeah, tech roll in seems to be like the most common habit from like a lot of people I've seen this interaction happen to. I don't ever really go for this because I just don't really think it's ever worth it. If I pin someone, I'd rather just get the kick, like get the kick and get whatever comes after that. I'm not that interested in that like potential guess, because if I'm at if they're at a percent where I can get that guess off that pin cancel and potentially kill them, I'd rather just kick, potentially kill them, and then have them at disadvantage.
But now we're going to go on a pin kick platform coverage. Corrin can cover an entire platform with a kick pretty well if you're able to set up a tech chase on the platform, which can be kind of hard to do, as Corrin, I say that, but like Corrin has good things that send up onto platforms, but the issue is that Corrin is never usually given enough time to be able to like preset something up. Like you have to like catch this on a reaction. But it is very good, and if you get the setup, it can be really strong. But like I said, it can be hard to set up realistically because you're not going to have that much time to actually get to the platform to set up the pin and then be able to kick on a reaction to whatever they do. And then the next thing, this is more character specific, but holding pin to burn Arsene or limit timer. On time dependent resources, say limit Arsene, you can hold pin and burn down 1 to 2.5 seconds on a good mash. If people are unaware that they can mash at all, you can get almost 3 seconds. Pin can be very good at shield poking. Depending on the character, and if they angle their shield, it'll be a little harder. But you can catch certain characters' heads sticking out of their shield, their feet sticking out of shield, but it is very good if you can get it. It's like absolutely broken. Some people aren't like too familiar with how to perfectly set up dair height where you don't kill yourself. I just actually just did it because I didn't recover correctly. But it is at the apex of a full hop, and then you down air at the same time. But another way to do this is that I've just recovered totally there. You can run off stage, pin jump, and then it'll push you at the perfect height, as you can see there. And this also allows a mix-up, because if they're off stage, as you would be going to do the down air, you can threaten a pin kick into the stage, you can threaten a pin kick away at them off stage if you're crazy, or you can pin cancel into like bear to catch them going deeper, or try to go around you, or pin and then ledge trump their up B. But yeah, pin cancel dair as well can be done, but obviously by doing this you are not going to be at the height to recover. You will like die in the process, but if it doesn't matter, then that's fine, because like you usually kill most characters first with down air. This one is the air pin, retreating air pin to be specific, but it is like you can do it retreating. On the ground, it's just going to look like you're doing this, like you're just jumping and then pinning while drifting away. But in the air, it is slightly different. But the good thing about this is if you do the input at the same time, you'll always do it at a height where you're actionable before you hit the ground. as you can see there, I was able to A-land. But, meaning you do, you know, air dodge, jump, swing, although you're at a low enough height where you will be limited to a few moves as you're close to hitting the ground that fair and air and up air all A-land instead of coming out as hitboxes. It can be kind of hard to do. It's essentially like a B-reverse pin in the air. I've only ever been hard punished for doing this once by a friend of mine who's the best player in the state. He's the only other person I do these things. Well, I say that. I do these things to a lot of people, but he's the only other person to punish me specifically for doing this. If you pin out of a ledge jump, let me push my a little further away. It'll always be at too low of a height for you to A-land, so you'll land and lag like that. I'm trying to mash nair and up air and all my other moves to try and cancel it, as well as shield and air dodge. But there is an exception to this. I'm not entirely sure why. Specials don't apply to this lag. I want to say it's a bug, meaning you can do buffered pin jump from ledge into this, into another pin, into pin jump back onto the ledge if you want. It may seem a little bit more niche because, like, if you just do the pin a little higher, then you're actionable. Obviously, it's going to be hard to show because of the platform. But if you do the pin a little higher, you'll be actionable and able to A-land. But in the circumstances you do this, you do have an out. There is like a way to like save yourself or do a mix-up if they try to do something aggressive to punish you because they think you're in lag. If you do the pin off ledge jump, like I said, higher you'll be able to A-land. But another thing you do, say you're holding ledge to edgeguard like this. You can even do ledge jump pin from this as well, and special lag cancel it into another pin like this, which is crazy to look at. It's like, imagine Corrin does this from ledge, and then you get hit by another pin. You can even do this, or you can pin. Or you can pin hop back on ledge to ledge trump them, which you're gonna have to space the pin hop. But then we have the pin hop ledge cancel. Speaking of, as I mentioned before, it can ledge cancel. It is more or less generous depending on. I think certain platforms give you like the perfect distance for this. I'm not entirely sure which ones do. As you can see there, I'm holding forward as far as I can, and I'll just go straight off the platform. But if I delay it a little bit, or I pull back as I'm getting towards the ledge, I'll ledge cancel. But it is practical. It is not as forgiving as other ledge canceling moves. You can even use this to ledge trump from this distance, because like most people are gonna expect you to 2-frame from here. So like if they get ledge trump like this, that's something that most people have like never even done. I need to start doing it because I know it's a thing and I just haven't done it yet. I think it's personally unexplored and really underrated. Because usually if they see the pin hop, they're like, oh, pin's coming, and then this happens. So I doubt anyone will ever be prepared for it. One other thing as well is it's much easier to ledge cancel it if you're doing it backwards. Oh, why'd I go there? If you're doing it backwards like this, it is so much easier to ledge cancel. I'm not entirely sure why. I think it has something to do with the fact that like it's just you're not going as far back. Like you can do things like that. The distance you'd be at when you would do this is like the same distance you would be to be doing dair as well. So like this has like a little bit of a mix up. But yeah, there's like a lot of potential uses off the what's it called the ledge cancel with the pin hop. So I think it's pretty underexplored. Bato also has a video for it. I will link it in the description. And this one is, I think, one that I've found myself, and I don't think I've ever seen another player do before. I'm not sure how good it actually is because I think, like I said, I'm the only player that's ever done it. But Neo seems to think it's cool, and it's worked a lot, so I think that gives it merit. The idea here is usually when you're in the corner, as you can see, there's not a lot of space for me to dash back if there's pressure coming. That's like the usual issue with when you're in the corner. But with this, you can dash back and then be off stage, but this gives you more space. It essentially gives you like the ability to dash back from farther out. And if you don't want to commit to like kicking in, you can just jump and disengage, or you can, obviously you put yourself on ledge, but a lot of people are not going to overshoot to catch this because it's risky to overshoot while someone's in the corner. Because say if I'm playing as a Corrin and I'm like, okay, I'm going to back air them while they're in the corner, I'm not going to do it like this because that's obviously unsafe. I'm going to space my move to hit them while they're in the corner. But if they're suddenly off stage like this, then I'm going to completely whiff. So most people are not going to overshoot for this because they don't want to get reversaled and they don't want to mess up their spacing and potentially get hit for it. But the issue about doing this, all the input is you dash off stage, you pin. But it allows you to kick in reaction to whiff moves that are trying to pressure you in the corner. Obviously it's kind of situational, and obviously it's kind of risky. If the move isn't laggy enough, then you haven't really done anything. And you also are off stage. If they hit you, then you're probably in a worse spot. But it isn't like the worst thing, and I think it's got some merit, so I'll put it up here. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, I think this is almost everything. In the case I do remember something else, or something else is found out, I will likely make a video or post a small thing about it on Twitter. So for now, that's the entire guide. I know a lot of this is essentially an info dump, but I've given you the basics to how the most moves work and its intention. A lot of this comes from experience as I've played Corrin since their release in Smash 4, so it might be harder for other people to grasp who are potentially new to the character or slightly confused by how pin works. As I said before, feel free to approach me on any social media if you have questions. I love talking about this character. I will talk nonstop about them. So if you have a question, feel free to ask me. My Twitter is usually full of Corrin tech posts, so feel free to follow me there for more info if you'd like. I do go to tournaments rather regularly, and my local has a stream, twitch.tv/LaffySmash. I'll put it in the description, where I'm fairly often on stream, so feel free to come watch if you want to see more Corrin gameplay, as my goal with this character is just to see how far I can really push them, because I honestly don't believe anyone has tried to solve Corrin and has truly shown everything that can be done with him yet, and I really want to be the person to do it. Corrin's a very basic character at first glance, but there's a little bit more nuance under the surface that I've been trying to work on for a long time. But anywho, this has been the full guide. I'm sorry if it's not as great as expected. This is my first time editing and making a full guide video of this extent, so my apologies. Thank you for watching. I'll see you later.